Listen, I've been working security at Terminus Station for 16 cycles, and I thought I'd seen everything. Pirates trying to smuggle contraband in their stomach pouches, diplomats declaring live explosives as emotional support animals, and that one time a Velk tried to pass off his mother-in-law as cargo. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day my scanner lost its mechanical mind over a human tourist. The morning started normal enough. Well, normal for Terminus anyway. 300 ships docked, 2,000 beings moving through customs, and the usual chaos of a galaxy trying very hard not to kill itself before lunch. I'm manning Scanner Bay 7, half awake and nursing my fourth stimulant pod, when she walks up. Human female. Young. Wearing what I can only describe as aggressively casual clothing, some sort of shirt with a faded image of a primitive spacecraft, and text that read, "I need my space." Her hair was pulled back in a messy knot. She had a backpack that looked older than some starships, and she was eating something that smelled vaguely like fermented grain wrapped in plant matter. "Morning," she said. Way too cheerful for someone about to go through customs. This the line for sapient beings, or am I in the wrong queue again? Last station had me sorted with livestock. I blinked all three of my eyes. "You were processed with livestock?" "Yeah, apparently these," she gestured at her limbs, confused their scanner. The Kiksari attendant kept insisting I was some kind of exotic pack animal. Took 40 minutes and a calculus proof before they believed I was sentient. She took another bite of her food. "So, we good here, or do I need to recite poetry?" I gestured to the scanning platform, already regretting this interaction. "Just step onto the platform, Kowalski. Nura Kowalski. But everyone calls me Ko." She hopped onto the platform with zero hesitation. Most beings approach the scanners like they're stepping into an incinerator, but this human just stood there, still chewing her breakfast, looking mildly curious about the entire process. I initiated the scan. Here's what should have happened. 3 seconds, basic biometric sweep, species confirmation, threat assessment, done. Here's what actually happened. My console exploded into color-coded warnings I didn't even know existed. Red alerts, purple alerts. One alert that was flashing a color my species doesn't even have a word for. The main screen, which usually displays simple data like species harmless or threat level minimal, instead showed a single word in text so large it was practically screaming. I stared at it. The human stared at me. The scanner, apparently having a complete existential crisis, started cycling through alerts so fast they became a strobe effect. Coke said, squinting at the light show. "Is that normal? Because if this is about the sandwich, I can declare it. It's just peanut butter and jelly." "Don't move," I managed, my vocal sac constricting. My secondary hands were already reaching for the emergency comm, but I couldn't look away from the screen. Priority alerts were cascading: extreme danger, civilization level threat, potential extinction event, and beneath all of that, a helpful suggestion: evacuate station immediately. "Okay, not moving," Ko said, raising her hands slowly. "But just so we're clear, I'm literally a grad student. My most dangerous possession is student loan debt." I hit the silent alarm. Within seconds, my supervisor, Thexnel, came thundering over. Thex is a Kronar, built like a small tank with anger issues, and he takes security very seriously. He took one look at my console and all 4 of his combat arms tensed. "What in the 17 hells?" he breathed. "I don't know," I said, voice climbing an octave. She just walked up. I ran a standard scan and now the system thinks she's a precursor. For context, precursors are the ancient civilization that supposedly seeded the galaxy with technology millions of years ago. They built superweapons that could crack planets, created artificial intelligence that made modern computers look like counting stones, and then mysteriously vanished. Finding an actual precursor would be like finding a living god. Finding one in the customs line would be problematic. Kay was looking between us, her expression shifting from confused to concerned. "Okay, the way you're both looking at me is not filling me with confidence. Should I be worried? Because on a scale of 1 to alien cavity search, how worried should I be?" Felix moved closer to the platform, Every scanner we had focused on this human. You are aware that impersonating a precursor entity is a Class 7 violation. I'm not impersonating anything, Ko protested. I'm a xenoarchaeology student from Earth. I've got my student ID right here. She reached for her pocket. Don't move. Vex and I shouted simultaneously. She froze. Right, not moving. Definitely not moving. Just, verbally confirming my identity while standing very, very still. I ran a secondary scan, then a tertiary one. Each time, the results got more insane. The scanner wasn't just flagging her as precursor level, it was detecting energy signatures that shouldn't exist in a biological entity, power readings that fluctuated between barely noticeable and small fusion reactor. Quantum markers that suggested she was somehow occupying multiple dimensional states at once. This is impossible, I muttered, checking the scanner's calibration. The equipment must be malfunctioning. Has the equipment been malfunctioning for the last 600 beings that passed through? Theeks asked pointedly. He had a point. My scanner had worked perfectly fine on the Velnix trader with illegal biomods, the Kelk's mercenary with enough weapons to start a small war, and even the planari telepath who definitely wasn't supposed to be this far from their home system. But the human broke everything. Ko, meanwhile, had finally noticed the crowd forming. About 30 other beings in various states of customs processing had stopped to stare. She gave them an awkward wave. Hi everyone. Sorry for the hold-up. Apparently I'm having an identity crisis. Or causing one. The metaphysics are unclear. A junior security officer rushed up, his communication device practically vibrating with urgent messages. Commander Thex, the station master, wants a full report. Also, the Galactic Council is demanding we explain why their priority alert system just activated. Also, 3 different military vessels just changed course toward the station. Military vessels? I squeaked. Ko's eyebrows shot up. Wait, military? Over me? I literally spent yesterday arguing with a vending machine because it wouldn't accept my currency. I'm not military material. But the sex wasn't listening to her. He was reading something on his command tablet, and his expression was shifting from alert to deeply, deeply troubled. According to the expanded scan, he said slowly, this human registers as containing technology that predates known galactic civilization by approximately 4 million years. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Even the ambient noise of the station seemed to die. Ko broke it. Okay, that's just rude. I'm 26. Despite everything, despite the alarms and the existential threat to station security, I almost laughed. Because this human, this being that my scanner thought was an ancient god entity capable of rewriting reality, was standing there looking genuinely offended about her age being questioned. Ms. Kowalski, Fuchs said, his voice taking on the careful tone you'd use with an unexploded bomb. I need you to very slowly and very carefully explain exactly what you are. Ko shifted her weight, looking more annoyed than scared now. I'm a human, from Earth, Sol System, Orion Arm, the backwater neighborhood nobody's heard of. I'm here on my research sabbatical studying dead civilizations, which, great irony alert, apparently includes being mistaken for one. Your species has been in galactic society for how long? Feeks asked. About 40 years, give or take. And in those 40 years, how many humans have passed through major transit stations? Ko shrugged. I don't know, thousands? We're pretty curious. Love to travel. Fux's eyes narrowed. And how many of those thousands triggered a precursor level alert? The human paused, her expression shifting as she realized where this was going. I'm guessing, just you. Kay looked down at herself, as if expecting to suddenly notice something glowing or obviously ancient. Well, this is awkward. That's when the scanner decided to add one more helpful piece of information to the display. One final detail that made my blood run cold. Under threat assessment, where it usually listed things like armed or aggressive, it had printed in calm clinical letters, entity possesses knowledge of Omega-class technologies, containment recommended. Approach with extreme caution. And then, because apparently my scanner had developed a sense of humor, Kay squinted at the screen. Does that say Omega class? Because I once got an Omega minus in organic chemistry, but I don't think that's what you mean. Thix made a gesture, and suddenly we had 12 armed security officers surrounding the scanning platform, weapons not quite drawn but definitely ready. The human looked around at the sudden military presence, sighed deeply, and asked the question that somehow seemed both completely inappropriate and perfectly reasonable. So, does the whole ancient cosmic entity thing come with perks? Because if I'm going to be detained for looking too old, I'd at least like some free coffee out of it. The situation escalated faster than a Vraxian debt collector spotting unpaid bills. Within 10 minutes we'd gone from routine customs check to full station lockdown. The human co was now sitting in Integration Room 3, which is what we call interrogation chambers when we're trying to be diplomatic. 12 security officers stood guard outside. 3 science teams were arguing in the hallway about who got first analysis rights, and somewhere above my pay grade, the station master was probably having a breakdown. I'd been assigned as her processing officer, mostly because Thix figured if she vaporized anyone, better it be the junior staff. Thanks, boss. Really feeling the love. Co sat across from me, hands wrapped around a cup of what passed for coffee in this sector. She'd insisted on the beverage before answering any questions, and honestly watching her take the first sip was like witnessing someone bite into a live battery. This tastes like burnt plastic had a baby with regret, she said, but kept drinking anyway. So, want to tell me why I'm suddenly the most popular being on the station, because an hour ago, I was invisible. Now I've got an armed escort and 3 different species trying to take tissue samples through the window. I glanced at the observation glass, where, yes, a QX biologist was definitely pressing some kind of sampling device against the barrier. Miss Kowalski. Co, please. Miss Kowalski is my mother, and she's not a cosmic threat. Just a dental hygienist with strong opinions about flossing. Co, I started again, pulling up my datapad. We need to understand why our scanners are registering you as carrying technology that shouldn't exist. Omega class tech isn't just rare, it's theoretical. Most scientists think it's mythology. Well, most scientists thought my planet was empty until 40 years ago, so their track record isn't great, Co said. She set down her terrible coffee and leaned forward. Look, I get that your machines are freaking out, but I promise you, I'm just a person. A very confused, slightly caffeinated person who really needs to catch her connecting flight to the Andromeda Archives. The Andromeda Archives? I felt my throat sac tighten again. That's a restricted research facility. How did a human graduate student get clearance for Andromeda? She pulled out her data chip, sliding it across the table. 3 years of applications, 4 academic sponsors, and 1 very persuasive essay about humanity's need to understand our place in galactic history. Plus I agreed to catalog their entire dead language database. Apparently nobody wants that job. I scanned her credentials. Everything checked out. Mira Kowalski, Earth University. Xenoarchaeology specialization, permissions signed by... I stopped. Your faculty advisor is Professor Kentel? The Kentel? The one who decoded the Vex obelisks. Yep, she's great. Little intense about citation formats, but great. Before I could respond, the door burst open. Vex entered, followed by someone I absolutely did not expect. High Examiner Vothrix of the Galactic Council's Science Directorate. You don't see High Examiners unless something has gone catastrophically wrong or historically right, sometimes both. Vothrix was a palindrian, all crystalline angles and refracted light, their form constantly shifting colors based on thought patterns. Right now they were flickering between amber and deep violet, which I'd learned meant intense curiosity mixed with mild terror. The human, Vothrix said, voice like wind chimes in a hurricane. I need to speak with the human immediately. Co waved. That's me. The human. Singular. Definitely not secretly multiple humans in a trench coat. The High Examiner moved closer, their form pulsing with light as they scanned her. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. You have no idea what you are, do you? I mean, I've got a pretty solid grasp on the basics, Co said. Carbon-based, oxygen breathing, terrible at math, excellent at annoying authority figures. You know, standard human stuff. Show her the readings, Vorthrix commanded. Thrix hesitated, but pulled up a holographic display. It showed codes as scan results in detail. Even I, with my limited scientific training, could see the problem. Her body wasn't just emitting normal biological signatures. There were patterns, repeating quantum patterns that looked suspiciously like code. Okay, that's weird, Ko admitted, staring at her own readings. Is that? You appear to be carrying a precursor data archive, Vorthrix said calmly, built into your genetic structure, likely placed there millions of years ago, passed down through your evolutionary line, dormant until recently activated. The room went silent except for the hum of the station's life support. Ko looked at her hands like they'd betrayed her. I'm sorry. Can you run that by me again? Because it sounded like you just said I'm a walking library for an extinct super-civilization. Not a library, Vorthrix corrected. More like a backup drive. Your species, humans, appear to have been seeded with precursor genetic markers. Most remained inactive. Yours did not. Why not? I asked, unable to help myself. The High Examiner's colors shifted to thoughtful green. Unknown, perhaps random mutation, perhaps environmental trigger. Perhaps she simply asked the right questions. They focused on Ko. You said you studied dead civilizations. How long have you been researching precursor sites? Ko's face went pale. Since undergrad, about 8 years, I wrote my thesis on precursor architectural patterns in the Outer Rim. Spent 6 months on Helios 9 cataloging ruins. She paused. Oh no, indeed, Vorthrix agreed. Helios 9's temple complex contains active quantum resonators. If you spent significant time there, especially in meditation chambers or data rooms, you may have inadvertently activated dormant genetic programming. So I turned myself into an ancient alien hard drive by being too interested in homework. Ko's voice climbed an octave. That's the worst extra credit ever. Thax crossed his massive arms. This doesn't explain the threat assessment. Why would the scanner flag her as dangerous? Because precursor technology was designed to be dangerous, Vorthrix said simply. They didn't build archives for poetry. They stored weapons, specifications, reality manipulation protocols, dimensional engineering blueprints, information that could reshape civilization or end it, depending on who gained access. Ko stood up abruptly, her chair scraping back. Okay, stop. Just stop. You're telling me I'm carrying around galaxy-ending information in my DNA. Information I can't access, don't understand, and definitely didn't consent to storing? Essentially, yes. Can we remove it? Delete it? Factory. Reset my genes? Vorthrix's colors shifted to regretful blue. Unknown. Such procedures have never been attempted. The risk of damaging your base biology would be substantial. Ko started pacing, her terrible coffee forgotten. This is insane. I came here to study history, not become it. I'm supposed to be boring. My biggest life drama before this was whether to get a 8 or stick with houseplants. She spun to face us. What happens now? Do I get locked up? Studied, dissected for science? Absolutely not, Vorthrix said firmly. You are a sapient being with full rights under galactic law. However, we cannot ignore what you represent. That information, whether you can access it or not, makes you incredibly valuable, and valuable things attract dangerous attention. As if summoned by cosmic irony, an alarm blared through the station. Red emergency lights bathed the integration room. Thex's comm device erupted with chatter. His expression darkened with every word. We have a situation. 3 unidentified vessels just dropped out of hyperspace. They're demanding we hand over the precursor entity immediately. How did they even know? I asked. The scanner alert went through automated channels before we locked it down, Thex growled. Standard protocol for precursor detection, which means half the intelligence networks in this sector now know exactly where she is. Ko's eyes went wide. So pirates? Mercenaries? Please tell me it's not a cult. I hate cults. Worse, Vorthrix said, their colors cycling to warning red. Based on the ship signatures, those are collective vessels. They're an extremist group obsessed with precursor technology. They believe possessing such knowledge grants divine right to rule. Oh good, Ko said weakly. It's definitely a cult. Another alarm. More ships dropping from hyperspace. The situation was deteriorating faster than my career prospects. Tax was already coordinating with station defense. We can hold them off temporarily, but if they're willing to attack a Galactic Council station, they're committed. We need to evacuate the human. To where? I asked. Anywhere we take her, they'll follow. Not necessarily. The Therics turned to Ko, their form pulsing with determination. There is one place they cannot reach. The Andromeda Archives. Ko blinked. My destination? Your salvation. The archives exist in folded space, accessible only through authorized quantum gates. Once inside, you would be untraceable, safe, and you could work with researchers to understand what you carry. So my academic research trip just became witness protection. Ko laughed, slightly hysterical. Sure, why not? This day can't get weirder. The station shuddered. Weapons fire. They were actually attacking. Decide now, Thex commanded. We can get you to the quantum gate, but we need to move. Ko looked at each of us, her expression cycling through fear, frustration, and finally settling on tired acceptance. Fine, but I'm filing the galaxy's most detailed complaint about this customs experience. And when I get to Andromeda, someone is buying me real coffee. Done, Vorthrix said. Now move. We ran. The corridors were chaos. Beings evacuating, security teams deploying, automated defenses coming online. Thex led us through maintenance passages, Ko keeping pace despite her shorter legs. For someone who'd just learned she was a cosmic library, she was handling this remarkably well. Then again, humans were apparently full of surprises. We reached the quantum gate chamber just as another explosion rocked the station. The gate shimmered with barely contained energy, its surface rippling like disturbed water. Go, Thex shouted. We'll hold them here. Ko paused at the gate's threshold, turning back to look at us. Thank you, all of you. And I'm sorry for the trouble. You didn't choose this, I said. Nobody should apologize for what they accidentally become. She smiled, genuine and warm despite everything. If I ever figure out how to access this precursor knowledge, I'll use it to improve scanner accuracy, so nobody else gets flagged as an extinction event while just trying to catch a flight. Then she stepped through the gate and vanished in a cascade of light. The chamber fell silent except for distant weapons fire. Thex looked at the empty gateway, then at me. Well, he said finally, that was the strangest customs violation I've ever processed. She never did declare that sandwich, I pointed out. Despite everything, despite the battle raging outside and the galaxy shaking implications of what we'd just discovered, we both laughed. Because sometimes when you've just helped evacuate an accidental cosmic entity who's still worried about proper snack declaration, laughter is the only sane response. The human was gone. But something told me the galaxy hadn't seen the last of Mira Kowalski. After all, she still had 8,000 years of dead languages to catalogue, and knowing humans, she'd probably finish early.